All right, welcome everybody. This is Barney Quincy, the creator and founder of the Animal Wellness Summit, the first ever event to my knowledge of its kind. And even if it wasn't the first ever, it's the largest and the most impactful online event when it comes to holistic care for dogs, cats, and horses, but also including birds now and also some rabbits. So it's kind of growing from the original vision of what we had initially planned on doing. And so we want to get straight in this. We have 4 presenters on for you guys today. So I'm going to keep my talking to a minimum. If you don't know who I am and you're just tuning in live, I'm the creator and founder of it, which really you could just say I'm a facilitator to help bring these amazing presenters to you guys who are passionate teachers and experts in their own regard. And we have Petra Christensen on with us. She's going to be the first up. And did I pronounce your name correctly? I want to make sure I keep getting this right.
Fabulous, indeed. So, I know it's a hard one.
Yeah, well, I know it's just want to make sure, because then when I learn it properly the first time, then it'll stay in my brain.
Yes.
And so I drew a blank there for a second. So I'd just like to acknowledge before you get going, those of you who are live with us, if you're watching the next little while, just know that we are fully aware of the fact that there was an email that was sent out to about 9,000 people that the password didn't make it in the email, and it made for a very interesting night. I was up till 6:30 in the morning my time. I'm not looking for any sympathy whatsoever. I'm just letting you know that we're aware of it, and we're going to be getting you guys fully on board, and that today's day 1. So normally when you're on the free version on the summit, you get 24-hour viewing access, and then the next day 24 hours, and then the next day. But because of today's little mishap, or challenge from the universe, we're going to extend day 1 to day 2, so you guys have a chance to kind of catch up, okay? So, Petra, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, what a little bit of background about, kind of who you are and what brought you to this point with where you're at in your life right now?
That's a great question. Thank you, Barney. I am originally from Germany, and I came here about 20 years ago. And my passion has always been to make a difference for animal and for people. I had a little pet cemetery that I was cultivating, and I got the mice from the neighbor that got killed in the mousetrap. And I brought kids home that didn't have, the parents didn't have enough money to buy shoes. And my mom was always super helpful in supporting me to make a difference. And so bringing that into adulthood, I really started specializing in horses and people because I saw that there was my passion where I could make a biggest difference. And I've noticed that it's tiny little small details that we miss out in communication between ourselves, between our horses, our animals, and in between, us as a human species. And it's a lot of times just a small detail that we have to tweak, and we have a huge impact. So that's why I'm teaching all about genuine connections nowadays.
I have myself muted, but that's really cool. I think that it's interesting just to hear. I've been finding it interesting just kind of getting to know all of you a little bit better, and just how unique everybody is with what you bring to the table, just as we all are as human beings. In general, but especially when it comes to just expressing more of your passion. And so what do you do right now in your work, vocation, in your business, or in your practice? What do you spend the majority of your time doing right now?
I teach live. I've just started my US tour where I actually meet my students in person and I do clinics. And then I'm a lot online because I feel I can make the biggest difference there, doing online courses and virtual support. And I do that one-on-one, I do it with groups. And my main purpose is that if I can make a difference for one horse and they're human, that will have a ripple effect because they will go out and they will treat themselves differently and they will treat the humans different in their life. And horses are amazing when it comes to giving us feedback, whether sometimes we like it or we don't like it. It's not always welcome because it's not always pleasant to know that whatever we bring to the table is how the horse responds, but there's also a huge beauty in having that opportunity to learn more about ourselves. And I can do that in person, and I can do that online, which is a fabulous platform, as we all know, with the Animal Wellness Summit. So thank you so much for putting it on, Barney. Great opportunity.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. I actually had somebody ask me, they were kind of, I could feel them kind of sitting back in their chair with their arms crossed and being like, well, why are you doing this? You're not an animal wellness expert. And let the cat out of the bag saying, no, I'm not. But what I am an expert in, I have a lot of experience in holistic health. I grew up on a farm, been around animals quite a bit in my life. And part of my gift to everybody really in this is just bringing all of you together. I ran into Eva last, I don't know, it was March or April at a marketing conference in Arizona. And then she connected me with or connected us with 4 or 5 other presenters. And so that's just where it continues to grow, that if it wasn't for the vision that started with to bring this to all of you, despite the fact that we ran into a bunch of challenges and technology really tested us, this is only the first day, but that's just that will happen. And I see some of the comments here. I'll get to you guys after for sure. So it's really amazing. And I think that, so you said that people can, if they're, because where are you located again?
I'm located in Colorado. I travel all over the US and planning to go back to Germany next year. But it is possible. I know people sometimes are a little bit hesitant that they can learn something that's so hands-on, like connecting to the animals, connecting to their horses through an online education. But I think what's amazing is that we can connect in the Facebook groups. We can talk to each other. We can share video with each other. We can watch the video over and over. I do audio voiceovers, so people really get step-by-step information. And you've seen my video. I have a lot of still shots in there. I give a lot of examples, so people can really go back and look at those tiny little details that you sometimes even might miss in live information, right?
Right.
So there's beauty in the online support, and I love it because we can touch so many people and their animals.
Yes, and I think that I was going to ask you, what is your, if people want to find out a little bit more about you, if they're thinking, wow, this is really cool, but I live in Florida and Petra's in Colorado, if they could do some work with you, or if they're interested in learning more about you, do you mind sharing with me your website so I can put that in the comments for everybody?
Yeah, it's my first and last name, petrachristensen.com. And not only can they find out more information about me, they can also download a free how-to guide, how to get started with wholehearted communication so they can build genuine connections. And it will give them a great, basic information what I do, and then people can decide whether that's something that's for them and their horse and whether they want to try it.
That's really cool. I was trying my best to multitask as a guy, and it doesn't always work. Right. So I'm going to put that up on the screen. Yeah, so put it right up there on the screen, and then it's actually in the comments. So if you guys are watching this after as a replay, or if you're in live, you can go ahead and check it out. So that's really awesome. And what are you going to be, so your presentation, why don't you just give us a short little snippet as we wrap things up and transition to the next presenter for today, is what can people look forward to when it comes to your presentation with what you're sharing in the summit?
Right. So we all have limited time, and I'm addressing in my video those everyday tasks that we do with our horse, how we approach them, how we put the halter on, how we lead them, how we pick their feet, and how we can use those everyday tasks and look at the small little details that we need to tweak when it comes to building genuine connection with our horses. And I know that so many students that I've been teaching this live now and in my online courses, they're always amazed how we can adjust little things that we don't quite have fine-tuned in our interactions, right? And yeah, so everyday tasks, small little details, lots of step-by-step information so that you can go out and really immediately use it and better your relationship with your horse as well as yourself and all the other humans in your life.
Yes, and I think there's a lot of simplicity and wisdom in what you're saying, really, because the success of our lives can be found in our day-to-day interactions, conversations, the thoughts that we think, the habits that we have, and when you string them together, that really builds an extraordinary life, right?
Yes, and it honestly, what I've found is it starts with the thoughts. What kind of intent do we have when we approach our horse? What do we want to accomplish? And it builds up from there. And it's the same thing with ourselves and with all the other wonderful people in our lives. It's our why. Why do we do things? What do we want to accomplish? And how can we go about to make that in a way that is really good for the horse and really good for the human?
Right. No, that's pretty awesome. I'm excited. The next time we do one of these calls, I'm going to have the schedule in front of me. My main focus today was to make sure that everybody gets their email with the passwords. And I appreciate all of you who are letting everybody else know that there's just a small percentage that had some issues, but we're back. We're ready to rock. Things are good there. But I just wanted to say that to look when your presentation is coming up, when yours, I think it's on day 4, but I'm not entirely certain. So we'll actually go back. I'll check the schedule and I'll post it in the comments when everybody's presentations, all of the presenters that are on today, so you can make sure that you guys, you as the viewers and the attendees on with us live today, can go and check out the presenters that you really want to tune into.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending and investing your time with us. And I'm going to pop you into the lobby section here, and you're welcome to hang out. Obviously, stay with us, or you can catch the replay after.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, Barney.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, so let's try this out. Now, Eva, are you coming on next, or who are we going to do? I think we'll do, yeah, Eva looks like she's ready. She doesn't have much of a choice because I'm just popping her up here right now.
Hi, Barney.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. So you are in not only another country than the United States and Canada, you're on the other side of the pond. So why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you are, and kind of a little bit of a backstory about kind of what brought you to where you are today.
Okay, well, I'm Eva Servais. I'm from Antwerp, Belgium, but I have been living in Spain near Alicante since 2003. So quite some time now. I live in nature, surrounded by wild animals and animals that I saved myself. And that is a continuance of my story. For as long as I can remember, since I was a little girl, I've been saving animals. Whatever animal that needed help, I would just take it off from the street. Little birds that would fall out of the trees, I would take them in and try to heal them. And it was a strange experience in that sense that I've always been able to talk to them, or no, talking is not the right word, but I felt things that I couldn't explain, and I knew things. And I always knew what was wrong with the animal. And it was in a big conflict with the world I was living in, because people did not understand me. People said bad things to me, saying that I was imagining things, that I could not know things. So in the end, you start to hide what you're doing or what you know. And I just kept going with the animals. So that is my childhood, being happy in nature, being happy saving animals, and being happy to bring them back to health and letting them go. But then I had another problem. And that was when I had to choose what I wanted to become. So, of course, I wanted to be a veterinarian. Like anybody who loves animals, they want to be a veterinarian. But my father was a doctor. He was an oncologist, and he was never home. He was always working and working and working and helping people. And for one or the other reason, they didn't want me to become a veterinarian. So at that time, I had to find something else. So I said, okay, I'm now talking about 1985. And at that time in Europe, Greenpeace was really popular and they were looking for people. So I said, okay, I'm going to study law. Because if I know the law, if I become a lawyer, I will be able to help animals in need too. So that's what I've done. And so for many years I was a lawyer. Sadly, I never got into Greenpeace or helping them, but instead I did help anybody I could help also. I was always the lawyer of the poor guy, the guy in the street who needed help but couldn't pay a lawyer. So I'm kind of a person who likes to help people. So that's my story. And then in 2003, after a tragic accident with my partner in Belgium, I left Belgium, I came to Spain. I continued my work as a jurist and translator. And I was here with my dogs, cats, we got a couple of horses, and sadly I broke my back. And that's how I became who I am now. And why is that? That's because one day I was lying in my bed recovering, well, resting, let's say it this way, because I broke my lumbar fork. And I was reading, and Linda Pirelli was talking about her accident with her horse Remmer. And at that time, I had tried everything. I mean, I've been using essential oils and herbs since the 80s. I've used acupressure, I've used acupuncture. My father, who was the traditional doctor, the Western medicine, since my 18, I was totally the opposite. I would try anything there was to try because I believed that homeopathy and everything, you should try it because it can help you. And of course, we had some rows at the house. Anyways, through Linda Pirelli, I found out that, so she had an accident with her horse Remmer, and she left the next day the hospital with a broken rib, and she wrote that she had no pain because of photonic therapy. So I said, okay. At that time, I was suffering from fibromyalgia for 14 years already, because I had a motorcycle accident years before, in '94. And I had my broken back, I had a disease in my knees for which I needed prosthesis. And I was at the end of the story because when you have fibromyalgia, they fill you up with medicine. And I saw no future anymore. I tried everything and I saw no future. But Linda Pirelli gave me a little sprinkle of hope that something would maybe be able to help me. So I contacted Dr. Brian McLaren, who is the one who brought this therapy on the market in 1992 with his photonic torch, and then using the torch on acupuncture points, having the same effect as acupuncture, but without needles. So I contacted him, I told him everything I had. He told me what he could do for me. Within 3 to 4 weeks, I was without medication. I could work again, which I hadn't been able to do with my fibromyalgia for 14 years. Suddenly I could work again full time. So I got to learn everything. I went to study the levels and I started teaching since 2009. I started teaching in Europe, in Dutch and in German and in French and whatever language was needed. And because this was my passion, I was still working as a jurist translator, but in my free time, I was teaching people because I knew for myself what it is to have pain. I was suffering every single day before, so I know what pain is. So I went to teaching. I became a qualified photonic practitioner from Dr. Brian McLaren. And then sadly, last year, Brian died. Okay, for me, it was maldiagnosis, whatever. Sadly, he died very quickly from stage 4 tumor in his brain. And the family wanted to close up in Australia, and they asked me to continue because they knew my passion. I mean, all these years since 2009, I've been torching many hundreds of animals and people, and I've always done it for free because my objective in life is to take the pain away. Okay, I don't do this to make money. I do this to give you a better life because I got a second chance in life. Thanks to this therapy, I got another chance to live. So the family asked me to continue Brian's life work to make a better world, and that by taking pain away. And that's why now in the last year, I am doing every day what my passion is. We brought new torches on the market. I brought all the prices down because I think we should not make money on the back of people and animals who are hurting. Okay, we have to make a better world, each one of us. We have to do it the way we can. Okay, and this is my way. And so we brought new torches on the market. And apart from that, I'm teaching now people for certificate courses, so they can get insurance in their own country to do this to others, and they can make a living out of that. And that's now my passion. I'm doing it every day.
Pop back in here because that was amazing. That was awesome. I was just gonna let you keep going, and I wanted to also make sure that before I put your website up here that I had it correct, because I think I have it. It's advancedphotonictherapy.eu, correct?
Or .com. Both of them are correct.
Okay. So.
Oh, this is one of my students, by the way.
Can you see the comments there?
Yes, I can see them.
Yeah. So I want to share something, first of all. Two things. Okay, maybe three. So one, that was amazing. Thank you for sharing. And people were listening to your presentation today, and you guys as presenters don't know this yet, but we've enabled a feature in the membership site after we've sorted the whole password thing out now, that you can leave a comment for the presenters on their presentation when and as you listen to it. And we haven't been able to do that before, so that's pretty neat. And there were some interesting comments that you're going to want to definitely see, Eva, on your presentation. People were like, they were so excited, they can't wait to get one of the torches. And so I'm going to just pop up. So if you're interested, you can go check her out and her website and learn more about what Eva does. And remember, as she said, it's photonictherapy.com or .eu. But that was the number one. And number two. And number three is that I'm noticing a common and consistent trend that all of the things that happen to you, to me, to Petra, to Karolina, to Sarah Jane, and everybody, and all of you watching, everything is perfectly perfectly designed to bring us to where we are in our lives right now, to continue to stay on purpose and hopefully live with passion. And as I'm listening to you, a lot of the other presenters, like yesterday I was talking to Dr. Ruth Roberts from the original crockpetdiet.com, and she was just telling how, you know, she had this health situation happen in her life, and it kind of led her to discovering this and researching that and just kind of learning new things. And now it's brought her to the point where now she's actually teaching that, and that is a lot of what you just shared, really, is that all of the life experiences that you've had have kind of built up to where you are teaching what you're passionate about right now, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and so let's pop this up here. So just, is this what the comment you were referring to?
Oh, one of them.
Yeah.
That's one of my students who will finish his course in a month or two. Oh, that's another student. That's a student from Australia.
Really?
The previous one was a student from Germany, an American living in Germany. The other one I saw was a student from England, Michelle. So my students are, well, voilà, that's Michelle. She's a student of mine in the UK. And these are my future ambassadors. They will be my ambassadors in their own country.
Yeah.
But they can tell you too that I am a very hard lady, because they have to do it the right way so that we can save as many animals as we can. Oh, that's another student of mine. That's Diane. She's also in the UK. And they were here, by the way, they were here in at the end of September in Spain to do their practical. It's so strange. I mean, I told my students when I started my certificate course, I said, if there are enough students, I will come to your country.
Yeah.
So I have students in America, I have students in Australia, I have students in Europe, and I said, don't worry, I'll come to your country. And they all say, no, we want to come to Spain for the sun, to do the practical.
Who doesn't want to go to Spain?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's pretty. And we just so you guys, if you're watching live now and or in the future, we certainly didn't plan that at all. But it's awesome. I love it when it just stuff like that happens and people can share from the heart. And you can definitely sense that coming through in your presentation. So I'm very interested in listening to the entire presentation because I listened to bits and pieces of it. I wasn't able to get to the whole thing yet. But yours is up. Yours is up today, actually. So yours is on today, and even though some of you may have missed it in the beginning, in this morning, if you were in another country and you're like, oh my goodness, I can't log in, don't worry, we've got you covered. We are going to extend day 1 viewing into day 2, so you're going to get that perk as well. So that's awesome. So we had your website, we put that up there. What else were we going to say? I think that
about what they're going to learn.
Oh, yes, about what we're going to learn in your presentation. Yes.
So today they can follow my presentation on red light therapy on small animals like the dog, the cat, and the bird. And if I'm correct, I think it's next week, Friday, they can follow a presentation on equine photonic therapy. So it's more or less the same, but it's really concentrated only on horses and also the typical diseases like colic, for example, and what to do. Now, what's important to know for the presentations is 2 things. First of all, I'm gonna teach you, first of all, what it is, what you would use it for, how do you use it for, when to use it, how long and why, and in which situations. But a part of that, there is something important also to know is that my course or my presentations are for people who have open minds. Meaning, if you just believe in Western medicine, then don't look. But my idea is together we can be strong. Never exclude anything. Just have an open mind and have a look at it. And you can try it out. I mean, so many thousands of torches have been sold since '92. If you're doing natural horsemanship and Farrell, you surely have heard about red light therapy and photonic therapy. All the teachers over there are using them. But on the other hand, by the way, before I forget it, anybody who follows my presentation, be it the ones for the animals or the ones for the horse, well, the small animals or the ones for the horse, if you look at the webinar, at the end, there is a link which you can click on or which you can copy, and you will get a freebie sent to you to your email. So that's possible too. But main thing is that you know that today, if Western medicine tells you, sorry, there is nothing more to do, well, keep an open mind and try something else. We can do brilliant things with photonic therapy, but also with essential oils, you see. Mine is here working. I mean, you have herbs, you have essential oils, you have Reiki, you have so many things that can help your animals. So don't give up. But most of all, don't think you can't do anything, because you can. At home, yourself, you can do a million of things. And that's the most important thing. Be there for your animals and make them better. They deserve it and you deserve it too. I'm not hearing you anymore.
Thank you for that. As I was saying, if anybody is watching and you're not the least bit excited to explore a little bit more about red light therapy, then we're going to have to come over and knock on your door and make sure you still have a pulse.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, don't be at all. It's awesome. See, this is what I love. I actually had somebody give in the comment section. Somebody was like, "Oh, they didn't really like this presentation." I'm like, "Great, but they love this one." And I'm just saying this because it was yours that they really liked, and it was somebody else's. And I said, "Great." It's like if somebody offers you a cup of water and you're thirsty, then drink it. And if not, you say, "I'm not thirsty," and you don't drink it. And I mentioned that because it's just really awesome. I love listening to you. And there's some other great comments here that NASA has tried red light therapy.
Correct.
I have the ability to pull up my screen and show you like the websites, but it takes up, when I have 2 people on and the bandwidth, sometimes the video gets.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. No, well, that's awesome.
They have a photonic torch too.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you so very much for coming on. I know that, what time is it over there where you are right now?
It's just past 9 o'clock, 9:06. That's no problem. People can just also email me, or they can look me up on Facebook under my name, Eva Servais. You can send me messages. You can send me questions, whatever question you have. I am very willing to help you and to comment to you. Or you see me on my Facebook page of Photonic Therapy. You can find me there too. I'm always present.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And look forward to seeing you more. Well, I might see you again at another marketing conference, but it's nice seeing you online again.
Okay. Thank you, Barney.
All right.
Bye.
Okay, great. So that was pretty awesome. So now, Karolina, are you ready? I think, well, she can't talk. Hopefully she's ready because I'm going to pull her up here in a second. Are you ready to go there?
Oh, yeah, I am. Hi.
Good. Your audio is good. And am I pronouncing it correctly, Karolina?
No, Karolina.
Karolina. Thank you.
Karolina, yeah. Not like the States in the U.S.
What's that?
Not like the States in the U.S.
Well, that brings me to my first question. Basically, if you can share with everybody who you are, where you are in the world, and kind of a little bit of story about who you are, and then we'll go from there.
Absolutely. I'm in Stockholm, Sweden, and on the same time as Eva, so it's 9 o'clock in the evening for me. And it's been so interesting just sitting here and listening to to Petra and Eva and hearing all the different stories that we're bringing together that's bringing us to where we are today, which is where we have this passion for helping people with their animals. And my story is really different from theirs, I think. But I think one defining moment for me was when I read a book by the ethologist, Konrad Lorenz.
Can I just ask you, I don't know your headphones, maybe if you're are you on a laptop? Or are you on try unplugging it, because we found that the headphones sometimes, just try it.
Okay, is this better?
It's way better, for sure.
Is it better? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, I was just saying that as a 19-year-old, I was reading Konrad Lorenz's book, King Solomon's Seal, I believe it's called in English. And it was one of those moments where the world just shifts, go, whoo, and you see things differently. And it made such a huge impression on me. So once I started attending university, I looked specifically for a course in ethology to learn more about that. And ethology is why animals behave like they do, trying to understand behavior from a sort of an evolutionary perspective, if you will. And I was living in Gothenburg at the time, and there wasn't any course on ethology in Gothenburg. And I remember standing in a corridor one day and just seeing this note on the wall saying ethology course in Stockholm, which is the capital, which is like 5 hours driving away. So I went to Stockholm to take that course, and I ended up doing a PhD in ethology. And actually now I'm an associate professor of ethology. So it's become my main field, if you will. And I very quickly started getting interested in animal welfare, and particularly how can we, we're taking animals out of the wild and we're housing them with us, with humans. And so we're changing a lot of things about their environment. And what can we do about that environment to make them thrive? What do they need? What are the important things that they really need in captivity in order to thrive? So that's sort of my first history. And then I started working with welfare related questions. And I was pretty cocky. I thought I knew a lot. And then I ran into an animal trainer who just blew me away with what she could do to help teach animals how to behave so that they could thrive with humans in like a zoo environment, for instance. So then I started learning about applied behavior analysis. So I'm a really sort of theoretical, nerdy type of person. So I tend to just read and learn and think and bring different perspectives together. So nowadays I have the ethological perspective and the applied behavior analysis perspective, so like training, and I also have the affective neuroscience, the how emotions impact behavior, which is what I've been teaching a lot online lately. When I started teaching online, that's what I noticed that people don't know so much about, is how emotional states in animals impact their personality, their learning, their stress sensitivity, their social skills. And it really integrates really well with my ethological background too. So I've developed an online course that I sell nowadays, discussing particularly how emotional states impact animals. Can't hear you.
I keep forgetting the mute button. And you might need to, because I can hear my voice coming through your speakers. Maybe just turn your speakers down just a little bit, as long as you can hear me. But what I find interesting is just that, or what it is that you said, is that I think that it's something that people are, aware about. That's like, oh, like, animals were once in the wild and now they're in captivity, or they're being domesticated, so to speak, or some of them anyways. And I think that what's interesting is just hearing what you're saying is like bridging the gap, and like Petra said, is to give the animals give them what they need in order to be good partners, and vice versa. And it sounds to me like that's what what people can kind of look forward to in your presentation, right? Or is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And specifically, I think that in order to understand the animal and this wellness concept, it really depends on where you're looking at the animal from. So some, like farmers and scientists, often look at health, the physical health. It's the animal. Is the fur okay? Is it eating well, nutritionally well-balanced food and all that? And then we have the suffering aspects. Do we have fear, happiness? So more of the emotional input into health or well-being, wellness. And then we have what's referred to as telos, which is how animals, are they behaving as they should? Are we seeing, is the cat behaving like a cat? Is the dog behaving like a dog? And all of these, sort of bringing them together is what fascinates me, and finding the sweet spot where we can sort of make changes that impacts everything. So this holistic perspective, but based in very scientific principles, that's where I'm coming from into this.
I love it, and I love that you said that. You said the tail. Did you say? How would you say telos or telos?
Telos.
Telos.
Yes.
So I don't know if you know Dr. John DeMartini. He's a human behavioral specialist, and was a chiropractor. He travels the world. He's been educating people professionally for about 40 years, and he was in. Have you ever heard of the movie The Secret before? He was featured in that about 10 years ago. And anyways, I took a weekend workshop with him not too long ago, and it's called the Breakthrough Experience, and he talks about how we as human beings are always, we're telos or telos-speaking creatures, which is always finding our true path and purpose in life. And so to help that with the animals, for them to continue to express that by being more consciously aware of what that is and helping them get there, I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. And again, I don't know, Eva, do you know, I'm talking to her, but I realize that she can't actually talk. I think your presentation, I'm like totally embarrassed, but I'm just going to humble myself. Let's see if I can pull Eva back in here real quick. Make sure your hair looks good, Eva. Oh, it looks fine. Was Karolina, was she on today with you on the schedule? I'm pretty sure.
No.
No?
No.
Okay. See there that this is where we go.
I will look it up for you. I will tell you in a minute.
You guys might be wondering, and if you could maybe just put it in the comments for us. So
I think I'm on tomorrow.
Okay, maybe maybe we should ask somebody that knows what's going on and who's organized the whole thing. But like I said, I probably should have had the schedule here. But at any rate, I'm excited to learn more. And I think what's cool, again, is that I can only imagine if I was in your shoes, you as the individual listening to this live and in the future as a recording, is that you can kind of feel like you're drinking from the fire hose, where there's a lot of information, a lot of maybe new ideas, concepts, or paradigm shifting stuff that's out there. And so I think it's really important that you guys remember that we have 3 different viewing options for you, where you get the free one, you can go day by day, you can upgrade a little bit for the $47. So if you are listening to this after as a recording and you missed Eva's presentation and Karolina's presentation, then you can always go back and listen to it. It was on what day, Eva? It's on tomorrow? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, your presentation is up tomorrow. That is Saturday, November the 11th. Which is otherwise known as Remembrance Day for us here in Canada anyways. And so, yeah, that's pretty that. I just want to share my 2 cents there. So anything else that you'd like to share before we transition to?
Well, maybe I should say something about the presentation.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I'm going to share in that presentation is why I think that preventing fear learning is the most important thing that you can teach your animal. And I think basically it's because that fear can be so incapacitating, can completely debilitate animals, and it can be such a huge concern for animal caregivers. So I think I'll be discussing why I think that's really important, and also what you can actually do to prevent fear learning, so the animal learns to become fearful. And also the 2 ways that you can reduce fear if you're in the situation where your animal already is fearful.
And I forgot to unmute myself. So that's pretty good. And that's not specific to one animal then, right? It can be.
No.
It can be.
No, the learning principles are the same regardless of which creature we're talking about. So this is across the board, whether it's a parrot or a poodle or a pig. Right. Or a person, for that matter.
Right. Would you agree from the work that you've done? This just kind of occurred to me now. I've heard it said before, just not like from a science base, but just as a general statement, that you can, when you see an animal, that the animals, like especially a dog, you can see them being almost like a bit of a reflection or an extension of their pet parent or their guardian, so to speak. Would you say that that's true, that basically the animals kind of express or take on some of that, and there's a dog that's like really kind of frantic and scattered and can kind of be maybe more fear-based or in that spot, that is the pet parent or the guardian of that animal has a direct impact on them?
Well, yes and no, because it comes down to genes and what happens in the environment as the animal is growing up. So what happens when the animal is really, really young, like a baby, is hugely important. So just the care that the mother gives, whether she's given the opportunity of doing good mothering behavior, really shapes the personality of the animal. So if you disrupt that bond really early, the human needs to step in and fill the shoes of the mom in order to help develop that personality in a healthy way. That doesn't mean that if you have a stressed and anxious dog, that means that you're stressed and anxious. It could be. We actually know that,
right,
that dogs see if you're afraid and then they become frightened too. So it's probably a good thing to work on your own sort of confidence in order not to infect your animal when you feel anxious. But very often they respond to things in the environment and they get anxious about that. Right. And we sometimes misinterpret their fear and anxiety, for stubbornness, or for, oh, he's just hopeless, or the aggressive behavior that we see is very often based in fear also.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense for sure. And I have witnessed that with our dog growing up on the farm. You could see the dogs, Skippy, my little buddy, my best bud when I was growing up. And he was, he would, to be able to, out of all the dogs we had when I was growing up, he was the one that he could tell right away. You know, some neighbor, my dad was a farmer who when seed and fertilizer, was living on a commercial farm. And so people coming and going all the time, and he could tell right away who the people are that kind of keep your distance. And not like they're evil, just that they're going through something, and he picked up on it, and you could tell that he was picking up on it. And then I would pick up on it even though I didn't understand it consciously. So it's interesting hearing you share that.
Yeah. The socialization period is really important. There's a learning window for at least cats and dogs, and probably in other animals too. It's just that we don't know about it, or science hasn't looked into it. I'm sure that pet owners or animal caregivers do know. It's just that during this time, they learn whether people are friendly or not. So they tend to generalize. If they have good experiences when they're really young, they tend to think, oh, people are pretty nice. If they have bad experiences, they tend to sort of go, well, I'm a bit concerned about people. I have bad history. And they also learn not to fear things. So the vacuum cleaner, men with beards, children, bicycles, things like that. If they're exposed to that during this window of socialization, they tend not to be fearful of that later on. But you need to do it in a way so it's not too overwhelming for the young animal.
Right. Yeah, that's super. Amazing. So any closing words of wisdom you'd like to share before we transition to Sarah Jane?
No, just this is going to be great. I'm looking forward to learning a lot from my fellow presenters.
Yeah.
And if you want to know more about what I'm doing, you can go to my website. Do you have that, Barney, or should I
just spell it out? Yeah, spell it out, and then I'll type it and put it up there.
It's Illis, ILLIS.se/EN.
Okay, so say that again.
Illis, ILLIS.
Yeah.
.se/EN.
Okay. So ILLIS.se /EN, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a bird?
Yeah, there's a bird. It's an ostrich. Yeah. It followed us around at a zoo. We visited the zoo in close, when the zoo wasn't open for visitors, and they have this big savannah, and this ostrich was out there, and he was like, "What? There's not supposed to be any visitors, any strangers here right now." So he was just walking around with us, almost 45 minutes, walking around the entire arena. So my husband took that picture.
Yeah, it looked pretty cool. It also just looking at me right there. So I'll put it up if that is correct.
Yeah, that looks familiar.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Get a good night's sleep tonight. And I know I'm looking forward to a good night's sleep tonight once we know everybody's logged in and ready to rock.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, and nice to chat with you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, Sarah Jane. I'm going to pull you in here. Are you ready to, I don't know if you consider saying rock and roll, but that's what I tend to say. So welcome, and thank you for being patient and staying with us on here. Why don't you just let everybody know where you are calling in from, and a little bit about your story, and let's just go from there.
Great. Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to say I'm thrilled to be part of this amazing summit. And I'm just really, really grateful that you're creating this platform so that people can really come back to knowing that they can take control over how their animals' health and healing issues take place. I think it's just so needed today for people to just widen their perspective, to know that there are so many amazing other alternatives out there, and you're providing that platform. So I'm really, really happy to be a part of this. I'm coming to you from South Africa. I grew up I'm an African. I always say I'm a barefoot African. They call me the white Sangoma hair, which is the African word for witch doctor. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. But I really was very lucky. I grew up in the bush in Zimbabwe, on a farm, and animals were my friends. So I've been talking to animals since forever, since I can remember, and they've taught me everything that I know, and they continue to teach me how to be a good human being, a patient human being, and they're just so patient. They really, really are, and so generous with their knowledge. So I've been really, really lucky. I get to go out and work with a lot of animals, lions and elephants and rhinos here. So I'm really passionate about spreading the news about canned lion hunting and some of the things that are going on here. And I know you have similar situations with the wild mustangs and the horses up where you are. So I think it's a wonderful, wonderful place for people to really come back to have more regard to codependence and I don't know, living in a way that we can really move from fear to trust motivation and explore animal intelligence is something that really is here to teach us, because they are such great teachers. So my work is really primarily based in returning animals and people to trust, because these days it's hard to know who to trust and to trust that life has our backs, and there's a lot of abuse out there, and we've all suffered some kind of abuse. So I love what your previous guest was speaking to, that without trust, there is no learning, and when our adrenaline's high, we don't learn, and neither do animals. So I'm really on a mission to share with people that we can return to trust, and that animals are great teachers. So that's pretty much what I do. It's vast, but it's exciting, because alternative healing and animal communications isn't as woo as it used to be. And I think people are really waking up to know that our first line of communication is always energy. We're energetic, multisensory beings, and we have this wonderful ability to trust our gut, and yet we've given ourselves outward to trusting everything else but what our body's own innate intelligence is telling us.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really, I want people to know that nobody knows you better than your body, better than you, and nobody knows your animals better than you. So to be able to say, hey, are you with me? Do we have a two-way conversation here that comes from trust and inspired communication rather than dominance over, I don't even like to say they're my pets or my animals, because we have no ownership. I think we need to return to that place of being the stewards and the guardians of the planet and other species. And I much prefer to say that we're the stewards. And I want people to really return to that place of cooperation, mutual collaboration between species, and listen to our animals, because they'll tell us what's wrong with them.
Yes, and I was just smiling behind the scenes, just because there was, in my line of work, and with what I've been doing with the majority of my life professionally has been coaching clients, coaching people, helping people, discover their mission and vision and purpose, and doing that through personal training and holistic health. Is that one of my mentors always would remind us that back years and years and centuries ago, that the medicine men, the doctors, would get more compensation when the community or the tribe was more healthy, and that it would actually be kind of considered weird, or that you were not as say normal, I guess, but that it was common to communicate with animals. Not like, hey, Mr. Horse, how are you? Oh, I'm great today. Can I have some more, water? Not in that way, but just to be able to actually to communicate that if somebody does think that it's weird. As I'm listening to you, I part of me is thinking that it's weird that it is thought of to be weird to not be able to do that.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. And I think that I have your website correct, and I'd love for you to confirm. Is it access? What? Can
you're doing great. Yeah, it's access your true nature.
Access your, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And is it you? Oh, you have access your, like you are, right?
You are. You are true nature. But if people type your, they're still going to get to that page.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm gonna pull that up here. So that's pretty cool. And this is what's really neat is that everybody, you're listening, you're watching, get to be able to take this all in, and you can tune into Sarah Jane's work and learn more about what it is that you do. Which, speaking of which, what is your presentation about, and what can people look forward to learning more from you at the summit?
Well, yeah. One of my most exciting things that I get excited about is the work with ancient traditional Chinese medicine. So I have a background in Chinese medicine and Parama body talk and a whole lot of other modalities, which sort of dance beautifully with what your other speakers tonight were speaking about. But what I really want to give people is just the basics of really getting curious and excited about learning what their animal's dosha or their 5-element type is, because it's the same for us as well. So there's a quiz actually on my website that you can take to find out, what is your animal's predisposition, their inherent personality traits, because we all have a dominant element. And in Chinese medicine, this 5-element feeding cycle is that it's not like kind of saying, oh, you're a Gemini, so you must be fickle and you talk too much and you don't listen, which is what people say in generalized terms. I mean, this is just a piece of traditional Chinese medicine, but it's just such a wonderful way to really get to know yourself and your animal. Because we're always looking, like you were saying, we're looking at what is the healthy state for us and for our animal companions, so that when they're off, and you can then take the appropriate steps to do it before they become chronic or in a chronic state of disease. So it's a beautiful system, because it's so organic. It's really about healing this nature deficit disorder, is come back into the elementals, come back into realigning yourself and your animals to the natural rhythms or the compass direction of life. So I'm going to be just giving a very brief sort of introduction to how you can, first of all, identify what your animal's predisposition is. My dog is coming in here, and he's very vata. He's quite shy, but I'll see. Okay, no, he doesn't want to say hello. I've got a Great Dane pup here. But it's beautiful, because when you can start to understand your animal's personality, just like if it was a child or a person, then you can be open and more allowing to what makes them afraid, or if it's a shy dog, what is it that they need to be encouraged, or if your horse is spooking. When you know that their sort of predominant personality characteristics, then you can speak to your animal in a way that's going to bring them back into summer, bring them into balance in a way that keeps them healthy and happy. So I'm going to be speaking about the 5 basics of the 5 elements and how you can actually use it to restore health and harmony in your animals and just deepen into your communication with them. And also, the beautiful thing is that when you know that, then you know what types of foods are going to make your animal thrive, and yourself, because remember, we're mammals. Our animals are mammals most of the time, unless they're iguanas or snakes, but we all have the same predisposition. So when you know your primary elemental type, then you can actually look at what governs your movement. What do you need to optimize digestion? What do you need that's going to actually give you more stability and structure? So if you have an animal, for instance, that is a predominantly wood type, funny, I always choose that because that's kind of my primary element, and I have had a lot of injuries over the years with snapped Achilles tendons, not once, but 3 times. So when you see which element is out of balance, then you can prevent before you go into, prevention's always better than cure. And we want to keep a healthy gut microbiome. So if you can start to look at what you're predisposed to, so wood types are very athletic, they can be very impatient. So when wood is out of balance, this is where you're going to see aggression, for instance, in your dog. If your dog starts to growl or they start to get really aggressive and it's not part of their personality, it's a very good way for you to look at, okay, what is going on here and what does my animal need in order to create harmony within the systems. So we're looking at meridian pathways, and every element is governed by all the organs, endocrines, and body parts are governed by different elements. So there's a consciousness or a biology of emotion on every single organ, endocrine, and body part, right down to your cells. So we're really having intercommunication to look at, okay, if I'm not watering my wood, what happens? Well, then we start snapping tendons. We start to have a weakened immune system. Eyes are governed by are under the wood element, and they're governed by the liver meridian. So then you can start to look at, okay, if my animal's eyes are, if he's bumping into stuff and he's maybe not seeing so well, what foods do I need to contribute to support in strengthening the liver and the gallbladder and the thymus and all the organs and endocrines related to the wood element, for example, to strengthen the eyesight. What is my dog not liking to see? What is my cat avoiding? Because there's something that's stagnating on the liver or the gallbladder element. So it's fascinating. And I know it's just the tip of the iceberg and we don't have a lot of time, but you can see I get so excited about this work because it's just so part of our nature that you can't help but get excited to know how you tick. Know what your triggers are, know what your animal likes and doesn't like, and then you can start adding on these layers of acupressure points to use. So I do a lot of acupressure in my work. I don't needle anymore because I want my clients to be able to go away and be their own medicine for themselves and their animals. So I use acupressure points and food as medicine. And I know you have some wonderful speakers that are really talking about species specific foods, or a bone and raw food diet, not this crazy kibble that's not food for your animals, which I often see in my practice are all the tumors and the very sort of human disease specifics that are showing up in animals. Obesity in animals is just as high as it is in people right now, because dogs, for instance, shouldn't be eating sugars and they shouldn't be eating grains. So when you know the 5-element theory, then you can actually get even more specific in feeding your animals according to their constitutional type. And that's what really, really excites me. So it's very specific. Do they need cooling foods? Do they need warming foods? And you can really start dialing in on the bone and raw food diet. And I know a lot of you've got some speakers that are talking about that, which is wonderful, because I'm a big proponent for feeding as close to nature as possible. And I know you have Will Falconer on, who's one of my heroes as far as, vaccines and the impact of all of that. So this is just a beautiful system that you can actually start to look at the dosha or the elemental type of your animals and yours. So I have a lot of people that come to me and they say, okay, can you do a matrix session so that when we bring a new animal into the pack, that everybody just gets along. So if you know your dosha or your elemental type, then you can actually adopt a pet based on the dosha that's going to give you the relationship that's going to work with your type. So it gets really, really fun and exciting. And dogs' only job in our lives is to remind us humans who take ourselves so seriously to play more. It's just a lovely, lovely system, and so easily accessible for people without having to go to, study traditional Chinese medicine like I did for 8 years to do this work. Obviously there's layers and layers of it, and thousands and thousands of years old, and you can really study this for the rest of your life and still not know it all. But I really want people to be inspired to know that they can take back control over their animal's health and really help them to really attune to their needs and be happy and have a great relationship, and also lengthen the life of their animals, because they're so attuned to their animals' needs. So that's kind of what I'm introducing people to on the summit. And I think that I've thrown in a little bit of the trust process too, because for me, that's the basis of everything. You know, if you don't have trust, you don't have a relationship.
Right.
And your animals can't listen and they can't hear you. So, so that's pretty much what I'm offering and inviting people to get excited about.
That's it. That's it. We're going to be sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we could just say, I can up just a little bit of passion, what it is that you're teaching. And I don't know, I could hear a little bit of feedback. I don't know if you just turn your speakers down just a little tad. If I don't know, maybe it's just me. But there was actually probably about 5 or 6 things that I was going to make a note on my pen, but the one thing you said that really stood out was having a nature deficit. Did you say a nature deficit disorder?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think, you know, we're, my wife and I, like we live out in the country on my grandma's old farmhouse, and we, which I didn't share this initially in the call, but on some of the other ones I did, and that I did with Dr. Will Faulkner. I told him, I said, he's like, we're like soul brothers, except we're like, you know, decades apart in age. And plus, he's just really awesome. I really have been enjoying connecting with him because he's pretty awesome. So I love that you said that.
That's amazing. That
you really like learning from him. But I shared this with him, and I'd like to share this with you and with everybody else as we kind of wrap things up here, that the whole point why this thing, the movement, the community was created is there's a very deep sense of purpose behind this. There's not just like, oh, hey, there's this cool like summit, let's throw this together and, you know, call it an animal wellness summit. 7 years ago, I was at a traditional native healing circle with some friends of mine, and my God showed me, or the universe showed me very clearly, here is your life's purpose, and part of what I came here to do, or what my gift is to give back to humanity and the earth, everybody, is to inspire and educate and teach and impact millions and millions of people around the world to get better in touch and in tune with the plant and animal kingdom. And it actually scared the living crap out of me when it happened, because it was just too big. I couldn't see it. I'm like, how am I, you know, gym owner, holistic health, this, corrective exercise, that person going to kind of carry this out? And the message came back was that that's not your concern right now. And now that I can see all of this as we've been talking, it's more and more clear, and bringing everybody in as participants and registrants and attendees, that this is just, I'm not the animal expert per se, but I've been able to just be called forward to help bring people like you that I probably may never have met before, Sarah Jane, right? It's just unique. And it's not about me. I like to say this too. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's not about any of us. It's about all of us together. And really taking that as a collaborative congregation of people to bring and share our ideas. And so, and what you've learned and what works, and to take it in and keep an open mind. I'm really excited to learn more about all of your works of, art that you're doing and the craft that you're expressing it through in your vocation. And I know that everybody is listening probably too.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's bigger than all of us, and I'm just so thrilled that we're kind of coming together, because we all hold our peace. You know, we can't do it on our own, and I think in today's day and age, so many people are disillusioned and overwhelmed. You know, with the price of care, especially in Africa. A lot of people, they love their animals. They don't have access to vets, let alone homeopathic vets like Will, or alternative healers like me, that do fascia and body work and 10-second work. And this is the power of being able to, you being sitting in Canada and I'm sitting here in South Africa, and we're connected through the airwaves. You know, this is the power of the the times that we're living in. And I don't think that there's ever been a better time for us to actually get back into attunement with nature.
Yeah.
You know, instead of being the destroyers, we need to actually start being the stewards that we're here, and kind of plug in our avatars and all do our bit, because it matters. And in fact, that's pretty much one of the strongest messages that I keep getting from the elephants and the lions that I get to work with here, is they're really, really concerned about what we're doing. You know, we're taking their habitats away, and there's nowhere for them to go, and yet they're still so giving. They're still so forgiving.
Right.
And they're like, when are you going to wake up? You know, we need you to wake up. And that's really the message of lions, to look at, you know, the pride. It's always about teamwork. They've been my greatest teachers as far as collaboration. It's just like, you don't have to do everything.
Right.
It's just like, you hold your peace. You've brought us all these beautiful, amazing people with their wisdom and their knowledge together. And together we're doing something bigger than we could do on our own. And that's what lions say. You know, you might be the young lion and you have the speed and the agility to do the race and bring down, you know, do the first attack and the separation. But you need the wisdom of the older lionesses, who have had years and years of experience in bringing down the prey so that the whole herd, the whole pride eats.
Right.
You know, and this is really what I love. I'm just so grateful to you bringing us all together, because that's really what it is. It's just like, you know, bring your peace, and together everybody has enough. Everybody can thrive, and we all get to play our part in the greater contribution of humanity, and not just humanity, but to the survival of the earth and the animals, because it's a very real thing right now. You know, I don't know if there's going to be elephants around 10 years from now. You know, and the rhinos have sort of told me, you know what, if we need to go extinct, the dolphins have said the same thing. If we need to go extinct in order for you to wake up, then they're willing to do that. But they're all holding these sacred ley lines and grid lines that have been around long before man was here.
Right.
And they're holding this energetic grid. They're stabilizing the earth. So, you know, we need to wake up, and we need to start making different choices. And it starts with one. So I'm playing my little part in the big tapestry of life. And I hope people are willing to receive that.
Yeah, it's amazing. I really appreciate and love what you're sharing, because first of all, you said with the metaphor with the lion and the pride. That's me 100%. I'm totally a ready, fire, aim type person. As you guys have all witnessed, email goes out, a link gets broken. I thought it was fixed. It wasn't fixed. 9,000 people got an email, and there wasn't a password. And my assistant Jamie and I have been working around the clock to try and correct it. So I am open to learning humbly from the lionesses like yourself.
Mm-hmm. And that's the power of watering your wood. When you don't water your wood, it snaps, and things do snap. You know, we're all human, and we all have our humanness. But that's the resilience, isn't it? Of there are certain things that we have no control over, but the minute we start blocking up and we don't move, so, you know, water is vital life force. We're 90% water. And if there was one element that we all could learn from, it's that element of water, because without water, if we dam up and we're not flowing, our wood breaks. So we have to water our wood. So you need to hydrate yourself, Barney, and you need to go get some good sleep. Because you've done an amazing job. You've done an amazing job. And nature teaches us that there's a season for everything. There's a time for everything. And when it's aligned, which the summit so is, it's like people will understand that we can't always get everything perfect all the time. This is a huge container that you're holding. So I'm so grateful that you persevered and you got it working again.
It's perfect in the imperfections.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the other thing that just occurred to me as we come in for the land here is that we're in there's 5 different countries. We have Canada, South Africa, Spain, Colorado, so United States, and Karolina, you are in, you say Switzerland? Oh, I got it wrong. Up north. Oh man, I'm okay. I'm gonna okay, but it was basically there's 5 different countries on here right now,
Pretty cool.
and everybody can listen. Where are you again?
I'm in Sweden.
Sweden.
Sweden, yeah.
Sweden. Yeah,
Awesome.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. Well, thank you for sharing, and thankful for everybody who tuned in, and also, one of the most precious resources we have as human beings, and just in general, is that the commodity of time. That it's the only resource that I know that once it's spent, you never get back.
Yeah.
You can lose money, you can make more money again. You can lose a business or relationship, you get another one, come back again, but the time, once it's gone, it never comes back. So I just want to say thank you to all of you for taking and making the time out of your schedules to be with us, and everybody who's able to listen to this now and in the future. So I'm very grateful and glad to play my part in this, and I'm just because I'm at the the forefront, so to speak. I've had some of the presenters say to me, they're like, "This is so awesome, and I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing." Because I don't want to deal with all the technology and all that stuff, so I can just and but that's me. I do enjoy it, and so thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Denmark's in the house too. Awesome.
Yeah.
I think by the sounds of, what is the time? What are you at for time in South Africa? Is it tomorrow over there?
It's 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock. Okay, so it's like a 7-hour time. 7 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, some of us need to get to bed, some of us need to hydrate and then get to bed, and we're all going to have a great day. So thanks for tuning in, and Petra and Eva, who are still on, but you can't see them right now, would say thank you so much as well.
Thank you. Thanks, Barney.
All right.
Bye.
See you soon.
Bye.